wondering how I got into this mix. Mind playing tricks and I'm feeling for a fix.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to the Conscious Resistance News Wrap-Up. My name is Derek Bros. Today is Sunday, February 22nd, and you are listening to the Conscious Resistance Network. Thank you guys for tuning in. Before we get started on the top stories of this week, I just want to thank you guys for taking some time out of your busy schedules to spend 30-45 minutes with me each week. I hope you'll subscribe to our channel on YouTube, youtube.com/consciousresistance. Subscribe to our SoundCloud channel for all of our audio podcasts at soundcloud.com/TCR live. And follow us on Twitter at TheConsciousRN. You can follow my personal Twitter at DBrosLiveFree. And find us on Facebook at the Conscious Resistance Network. And of course, you can find me at Derek Bros on Facebook. I'm always open and willing to talking with more people and finding out ways that we can work together and make the world a more enjoyable, free, conscious place. So, before we dive in, I just want to once again thank you guys for listening, and thank everyone who's following and supporting the Conscious Resistance Network. We've been experiencing quite a bit of growth and promotion as we move closer to the release of mine and John Vibe's book, The Conscious Resistance, Reflections on Anarchy and Spirituality. And while I'm on that topic, it's coming along great. This evening, as soon as I finish this podcast, I will be writing the last couple chapters, and John will be helping out as well. We're nearing the end, and we've set a deadline for today for ourselves. We'll be going over it throughout this week, and then we'll be sending it off to our editor, and within a week or two, we will send it off to print and have it back for the very beginning of April for its official release at the Free Your Mind Conference, April 10th through the 12th in Philadelphia for Free Your Mind 3. And we're really excited about that. We'll be giving an in-depth presentation on the concepts in the book, and we hope that this can spark some new conversation within the libertarian, anarchist, freedom movements. So let's dive into this. First of all, I want to catch you guys up with what's been happening on theconsciousresistance.com on our network, all the great work that's been happening by our team there. Let's see what we got here. We had our new interview from Danilo, aka Peaceful Anarchism. He interviewed Bitcoin specialist / lecturer and citizen of former communist Czechoslovakia, discussing those topics and more. We got a new episode of Abolishing Authority from Michael Freeman. And of course, looking back a little bit further, we had Peaceful Parenting from Katie Chaos. And now I also put out a new video for the Conscious Resistance Network, and that's going to be the first story that we're going to cover, which deals with the FBI, Occupy Houston, and an apparent assassination plot. I recently went on RT, Russia Today, and was interviewed by Ben Swan, a friend and employer of mine, and a great journalist, to discuss this case. And this video is linked on theconsciousresistance.com under the title, Judge Rules FBI Can Keep Occupy Assassination Plot Secret. Now, let me just catch you up on the details of this in case you haven't. And please watch the interview to get the full information. But essentially, Occupy movements launched around the country and in Houston in October 2011. Sometime around November, December, we're not really sure because this information is being kept private. There was efforts by a local violent organization within Houston to plot to assassinate, quote-unquote, the leaders of Occupy Houston. Now, as somebody who was heavily involved with the Occupy movement, I was really there as a Houston freethinker supporting Occupy Houston, but we worked together. A number of the biggest marches for Occupy Houston were marches done in conjunction with the Houston Freethinkers, such as marches against the NDAA in 2012, SOPA, CISPA, and things like that. We marched on senators' offices. We were confronted by DHS and all types of things. And a number of people who were involved with Occupy actually became members of the Houston Freethinkers and worked with us after the Occupy movement sort of died down or evolved, however you want to look at it. But in 2013, it was revealed first by Jason Leopold, who did a bunch of Freedom of Information Act requests and for the whole Occupy movement around the country, and found a couple of pages that connected to an apparent assassination plot related to Occupy Houston. Following that, Ryan Shapiro, the MIT student and FOIA activist, filed Freedom of Information Act requests specifically on that assassination plot, and first the FBI lied about it, and then they said there was 17 pages. They released 12 of the pages. Most of them were redacted, but there was a small portion that said something along the lines of assassination plot to target Occupy Houston leaders using suppressed rifles. suppress sniper rifles. And that's all we've seen since then. There's been lawsuits, there's been efforts to find out more. The government, specifically the FBI, has been resisting, saying they have no reason to share more information. And last week, a federal judge ruled on their side, saying that they are allowed to keep this information private because it may put their sources within these local violent organizations, their confidential informants, it may put them in harm's way. Now, why do we have an issue with this? Well, first of all, because we, up to this point, and maybe will never know who exactly was involved in this plot as far as what local organizations here in Houston, what level of awareness that the mayor or the police chief had, and what activists were targeted. I mean, myself, and I can name at least 5 to 10 other people, were very heavily involved in organizing and planning and strategizing, and I wouldn't be surprised to see my name and others on this list of people who are apparently being targeted. It's a scary thing to think about, and it's the reality of the situation. So the next day, actually I think it was the day before, or maybe even the same day, I can't remember, but this past week sometime, I had the opportunity to question Houston Police Chief Charles McClelland on this issue, and he claimed to have no knowledge of the event, and to me this is really surprising and honestly just hard to believe. And I think this was maybe the situation for quite a few people who think the police chief, right, is supposed to be the head of this city of Houston, and he's saying that a federal organization came within our city and was working with informants in the city of Houston to, assassinate, or at least was aware of some assassination plot, and didn't tell the mayor, didn't tell the police chief. Occupy Houston's base camp was literally a block from City Hall, and about 10-minute walk or 10-minute bike ride from the police station downtown. And you're telling me we're supposed to believe that the police chief was completely unaware of this incident? Not only does he say he was unaware of the incident, he told me that he had no knowledge of that he'd never even heard of this Occupy assassination plot. I find that very, very hard to believe. Yes, he's a busy man, but he has handlers, he has people that are trying to keep him apprised of situations and aware of what's going on in the world. I find it very difficult to believe that he has no idea about this. But I did my job, I asked him, and that's what I got, guys. So he says he knew nothing about it. And I also asked him twice this week about his awareness of another topic, which moves on to our next discussion here, which deals with Stingrays. This is another story that I've been keeping up with, and if you follow this show, if you follow my work, then you know I've been tracking Stingray cell phone surveillance for a couple of years now, and really hardcore in the past 6 months as it's been confirmed in the city of Houston that our police are using them here. Now, what the Stingray does, cell site simulator, it's a device that can be handheld or put into a police vehicle that allows police to trick your cell phone to thinking it's a cell tower, and then to get your phone to send all of its data to them. This can include your location, the phone numbers are called, the length of the conversation, and with some of the more recent devices, they can actually get the contents of your conversation. Well, we had a victory this week. The Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department in North Carolina is going to release new details on Stingrays. In a rare victory in the fight against surveillance, the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department will reveal new details about the use of Stingray cell phone surveillance. This revelation comes after an investigation by the Charlotte Observer and pressure from defense attorneys and privacy advocates who feared the police were unfairly targeting innocent bystanders with the technology. The CMPD will also make changes to its program, including disclosing to judges exactly how they track cell phones and allowing those accused of crimes to learn if the police used a Stingray to arrest them. The Mecklenburg County District Attorney's Office will also be releasing the results of a review of hundreds of criminal cases. So this is a victory. As I said, this is something that the local media actually got attention on, put pressure, and then there was action done. Now, this is what we need to do in every city. We can actually achieve change without having to go through the government. So first, you need to do some research, check out the ACLU and their map on which police departments in which cities have the Stingrays. Then you need to make some press, go out into events, ask your mayors, ask your chiefs of police if they know about this, put pressure on them, call the district attorney's office, organize campaigns, and you can pressure them into releasing more details. They're going to continue to use them, and when I asked the police chief, again, he said, I don't know where you heard this from, but I've never said we're using these devices. Well, that's great, chief. You may not say that you're using these devices, but we have the documents. We have the documents. Literally, we have the documentation that these things are being used. We have the contracts between the city of Houston with the Houston Police Department's name on it, with Harris Corps, the company that produces these devices. And again, what we have to remember, the reason that the chief of police may be trying to deny the use of this is because these police departments sign non-disclosure agreements with Harris Corps, which means that they're not allowed to talk about. They can't disclose the details of it. And you can say from a police perspective, of course they're not going to reveal their tactics. They don't want criminals or quote unquote real terrorists to know how they are using these devices. But with the Stingrays, what we're seeing more and more is that these have a great ability to target innocent civilians because they're just driving around or they're walking around using these devices, and now we know they're using them in planes. That was revealed last year. They're using Cessna planes to fly over with Stingrays known as dirt boxes when they're in the planes and gathering up people's information. Now, do you really think that those are targeted, or that, the government says, oh, no, we were just looking for one guy. We accidentally grabbed 10,000 people's information, but we're just going to go dispose of that? No, there's no limits on how long they can hold that information, and there's really no way to determine if it's safe, how effective it is, or if you are being targeted indiscriminately or purposefully, because they can't even talk about it. So when I asked the police chief, he's like, oh, I don't know where you read that. And I said, oh, I have the documents here. I've seen the reports. He's like, well, no, that's not me. But I do know that we use a warrant every time. That's great, chief, and you can say that, but how are we supposed to are we just supposed to trust you that that's what you're doing because you say that without them coming out clearly and saying we are using these devices? I'm not saying they need to tell us exactly which ways they're used, but we know that you're using them. At least admit to it. Try to find some way to assure the average person that their information is not just being targeted and then saved for future use. But they refuse to do that. They refuse to even acknowledge that. I gave the chief of police 2 opportunities this past week to acknowledge the use of Stingrays, and he failed to do so. It's on you, chief. If you guys want to come clean and make the people of Houston feel safe and feel secure in their homes and know that you guys are, the good guys, then why not disclose what's really going on? And I plan to continue to put the pressure. This was, of course, my first week after more than a year and a half, almost 2 years of trying to get into the chief of police press session. I was finally allowed in. And I want to take a moment to tell you guys, share my thoughts on this, because this is really interesting to me, because basically these press sessions, I have the articles. If you want to follow the story, I can post the links and the information below. But essentially, I've been told now for a year and a half or more that, only certain journalists are allowed in there, or we don't accept corporate advertising, you don't qualify as a journalist. Basically, they made up this stuff on the spot over and over, and then I was able to prove that they were lying, that the Houston Police Department and the mayor's office have no established policy for what kind of press they allow into these meetings. Okay, so I proved that was a lie, that they were just basically not wanting to allow me in there, kept saying, well, if we allow you in there, we're going to have hundreds of people beating down the door and trying to get in there. No, I don't think that's the case. I'm one of the only people in this city that is trying to get in there and trying to expose you people. And I take an adversarial role to your actions, chief. Basically what I feel like is they were welcoming me in there, trying to be all friendly with me and saying, look, Derek, if you come in here and you're respectful and, you do good work and you're professional, of course you're going to be welcome in here. I told the chief of police, you're going to be here, you're going to ask questions that activists care about, but as long as you do it in a respectful way, then yeah, we'll work with you. And I felt like they were trying to pat me on the back, like, welcome to the club. But what they don't understand is I wasn't just trying to get into this press session as official press. I'm trying to open the door up for everybody, because I believe everybody should have the ability to question the chief, not just have to track him down at some town hall meetings that are very difficult to locate and to find. And I told them that. I said, I have an adversarial role with you guys. We can sit here and have nice conversations and be courteous to each other, but at the end of the day, you are working for an institution that is suppressing my freedom, and that is going to, when it comes down to it, is going to support the state and thus is against me. And I don't like to be, against and create lines like that, but that's the reality. So until they're ready to relinquish their role as the head of this institution that is about violence and force, then we are on the opposite sides of this fight and this debate, Chief. And Public Information Officer John Cannon, I hope you guys know that I respect you as human beings, but at some point you got to let go of that job you're doing if we're going to work towards establishing more freedom. And in more news related to government propaganda, the Department of Homeland Security has put out a new report which details an alleged growing threat from right-wing, quote-unquote right-wing, sovereign citizens. Sovereign. I know that plenty of people hear that and they're like, that's an oxymoron. You can't be sovereign and a citizen, because citizen means that you are owned by the corporation of the United States. And I agree, that's kind of an oxymoron. Citizen is a weird term I don't really like using. But this is the government's report, right? Don't expect them to make a lot of sense. New intelligence report produced by the Department of Homeland Security and the FBI is calling attention to an apparent domestic terror threat from right-wing sovereign citizen extremists, according to CNN. The report claims that there have been 24 sovereign citizen attacks in the United States in 2010. According to the report, these extremists believe they are not bound by the law and will assert their rights on a regular basis when confronted by police. This could be a traffic stop or refusing to obey court orders. This news comes as the Obama administration is currently, or was this past week, holding a 3-day conference analyzing both international and domestic threats from terrorism. According to the report, some local and federal law enforcement agencies view the threat from so-called sovereign citizens to be equal or greater to the threat from the Islamic State and similar groups. The term sovereign citizen has become a catch-all term for those who assert their rights and refuse to accept what they see as unjust or immoral orders from police officers and other authorities. There have been several instances of individuals allegedly calling themselves sovereigns, shooting or plotting to kill officers. The report states, quote, law enforcement officers will remain the primary target of sovereign citizen violence over the next year. Sovereign citizen violence during 2015 will occur most frequently during routine law enforcement encounters at a suspect's home, during enforcement stops, and at government offices, according to the DHS intelligence report on domestic terror. And this report comes after news that Attorney General Eric Holder was reviving the Justice Department task force on domestic terrorism in an attempt to stop violence. Last summer, he said that the Domestic Terrorism Executive Committee would work to eliminate the danger from violent individuals who may be motivated by anti-government or racist views. And this committee was originally established after the 1995 Oklahoma City bombing. And I end this piece right here with these thoughts. As Americans are waking up to the mass surveillance programs and growing police state around the country, many are pursuing knowledge of their rights when dealing with police officers and government officials. Rather than being violent extremists, these are everyday, hardworking Americans who wish to feel safe and secure in their own homes. An increased focus on police violence against unarmed citizens has caused a rift between communities and the authorities. The U.S. government's search for domestic extremists is likely to net innocent individuals who are not pursuing violence, but rather simply attempting to live free of government interference in their lives. When governments criminalize innocent actions of free people, there will be resistance. When governments propagandize the people to mistrust those who assert their rights, there will be division. Ultimately, it is up to each of us to communicate with our neighbors and family members so they understand the difference between those pursuing violence and those who are simply attempting to live free. And I was talking about this earlier on Facebook for a moment, saying that, with this new report coming out, it just makes it more clear in my mind that, although I don't identify as either right or left wing, I don't also recognize and view as legitimate this man-made law. I follow natural law or God's law or my own moral compass, however you want to label it or distinguish it. And what that means is that sometimes my life may involve quote-unquote illegal, illicit acts that the government views as wrong. But if I don't see myself aggressing upon another human being and committing victimless crimes, I don't consider that to be illegal or a violation of their law. And if that is a violation of their law, I don't believe that I'm bound by their law. And maybe that means that I'm one of these sovereign citizen, right-wing, domestic terror extremists. I don't know. I'm not a violent person. All that means is that at the end of the day, if I'm arrested and put in a cage for something that I don't consider to be a crime, my only defense will be in that court of law is, I'm sorry, judge, I'm sorry, jury, but I do not accept your authority over my sovereign body and life. And so I cannot say that I'm guilty of this crime. And if that means I will have to do jail time or something, and most likely I see this as being the case when it comes to me not paying taxes and not filing taxes. More and more opportunities are coming to my life to grow as a journalist and to reach new heights and reach new people, and I want to take them. But along with these opportunities comes the fact that many businesses are going to want to file taxes on my income, and I do not do that. So there may come a time when I'm forced to deal with those situations. But again, I can't do it. There's a piece of me that would rather just sit in a cell and live free in my mind than ever give these people the authority to tell me how to live my life, or to tell me that it's legal or just and moral for them to steal from me and take my money that I earn out of my own doing and my own personal responsibility. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, do you feel that it's worth it? I mean, like, how far are you willing to push your principles, basically, is what I'm asking here. If you are a principled person and you think that the government doesn't have authority over you, but you also have a family, you also have considerations to make here. I don't have any kids. I don't have any real major commitments that wouldn't allow me to go sit in jail if it meant that I would become a political prisoner and I could make a stand. Would that bring down the empire? No. But would I be content in my own heart and mind and knowing that I did not allow these corruptors of all that is right and just in this world, these parasites, this parasitic entity, the parasite class, to make me one of theirs? No, I would rather be true to my own heart and my own principles. Another article I wrote here that relates to the ongoing surveillance state that we were just discussing with the Stingrays, and this one is really mind-blowing but not surprising, of course. But new documents from Edward Snowden, revealed by The Intercept and Jeremy Scahill and Glenn Greenwald's team, show that American and British spies have hacked into a SIM card manufacturer in the Netherlands and now have the encryption keys that are on SIM cards of all cell phones. This means that they can access your information now without a warrant and without the companies even know. This is even more direct than just, Stingrays. I mean, now they've got so many devices that can access your information. It's ridiculous. Just know that everything you're doing on a freaking device, on cell phone, on computer, is being listened to, tracked, monitored, cataloged, and organized into a database for somebody, and the possibility that they may want to one day use it against you, right? So you do something wrong, and they're going to come back and tell you, you know what, we have you on record saying X, Y, and Z. The Intercept released new documents which detail the existence of the Mobile Handset Exploitation Team, a team that was formed in April 2010 to study and target cell phones and hack computer networks of manufacturers of SIM cards. The team specifically targeted Gemalto, a SIM card manufacturer based in the Netherlands that produces SIM cards for 450 wireless companies, including AT&T, Sprint, T-Mobile, and Verizon. They have operations in 85 countries around the world. Internal slides from the NSA and GCHQ showed that the team was after encryption keys that, quote, live in the SIM cards. By possessing these keys, they are able to access wireless networks without leaving any clues and without the need for a warrant. Beyond simply accessing current communications, accessing these servers allow the agencies to unlock past encrypted communications that they may not have had the ability to decrypt. One agent wrote on a slide that he was, quote, very happy with the data so far and working through the vast quantity of products. In 2010, the document referred to this as PCS harvesting at scale, or harvesting large amounts of encryption keys as the data passed between the wireless providers and the SIM card personalization centers. The NSA boasted to having the ability to process 12 to 22 million keys per second. The agency was also aiming to process more than 50 million per second. The keys are processed and then made available for use against surveillance targets. So they go through 12 to 22 million keys at a minute, and then they have all your phone encryption keys available, and if they ever need to access it, they just search your name, your phone number, boom, we have access, let's listen into them. The GCHQ specifically targeted individuals in key positions within Gemalto and began accessing their emails in hopes of following their trail into the SIM card manufacturer's servers. The team of spies wrote a script which allowed them to access private communications of employees for telecommunication and SIM personalization companies in search of technical terms that might be used in assigning encryption keys to cell phone customers. The executive vice president of Gemalto told The Intercept that he believed the most important thing for me is to understand exactly how this was done so we can take every measure to ensure that it doesn't happen again, and also to make sure there's no impact on the telecom operators that we have served in a very trusted manner for many years. This is going on. This is just a continuing thing, and I end this here by saying, as Edward Snowden continues to unveil the disturbing uses of surveillance against innocent users of technology, it is important to remain educated and informed about the way global governments are targeting their own citizenry. Learning to encrypt your communications and watch what you say on the phone becomes largely useless when the government has access to the SIM card itself. What is a free person to do in the surveillance state of 2015? How can we find balance between freedom and security? Ultimately, I don't know. I use a dumb phone, but guess what? My dumb phone, my old phone here, is completely useless against a Stingray. It's completely useless against this SIM card tracking because I have to use a SIM card. that means you're not safe on the phone in any way. I don't believe that there is a possibility to be safe on the phone. And according to a recent interview by Andrew Demeter, the young dude at Teen Take who interviewed John McAfee, the security expert, he said security is an illusion. There really is no concept of security anymore. I've been talking to some people more recently about learning about encryption and cryptography for journalists, and I'm going to pursue that path, but I think I would have to agree with Mr. McAfee and say that security in 2015, and probably for quite some time, is a complete illusion and fabrication that we have been fed. There is no safety, there is no security on the internet and when it comes to technology. You just need to be aware of that. So if you are organizing actions and you don't want the police to know, whether violent or otherwise, of course I don't support violence, but if you're organizing actions, say you want to go put up flyers and you don't want the cops to know, don't post it on Facebook. If you're planning a waterboarding and you don't want the cops to know, don't put it on Facebook. Don't tell your friends over the phone. Talk in person. Practice a culture of security. The last topic, at least the last heavy topic, I got one thing to end with that's positive. Some good news, of course. We want to end with something positive. Has to deal with open carry and campus carry. In Texas, 2 bills have come that are now attempting to get open carry legalized in the state of Texas. I know many of you outside of the state might be surprised that Texas doesn't have open carry. 2 bills allowing open carry of firearms and weapons on college campus are headed to the floor of the Texas Senate. They've now passed through there. The bills for licensed open carry and campus carry passed out of the Committee on State Affairs with a vote of 7-2. An amendment to the campus carry bill was added which would require guns brought on campus to be concealed. Texas A&M has voiced support for the measures, while UT Chancellor William McRaven said he is not in favor. And I know some other activists with Open Carry Texas and other groups like that are actually pushing for something even more legitimate than this, I guess you could say. They're calling for constitutional carry. They want a constitutional amendment that reassures and reaffirms their right to carry in a constitutionally protected way. They're saying we shouldn't have to just get open carry, we should go beyond concealed carry and open carry. We should have the constitutional right to carry openly. And I also posted on Facebook the other day an article that came out of the Houston Press, a local paper out here in the Houston area, written by a guy named Jeff Runer, who is just another guy in the Houston community who I really disagree with on most things. He's written things about vaccinations. He's written things on open carry, and this open carry thing was how my 5-year-old daughter responded to the first time she saw open carry action or rally. And he just sounds like, I hate to be this left-right liberal conservative thing, but he just sounds scared. He sounds scared of what's outside there. There's a picture of people open carrying. Now look, I understand there's people out there who support gun rights and concealed carry and think that the open carriers are messing up and scaring people and destroying any chance of legitimate quote-unquote gun rights. But I understand the idea of getting it out there on the streets and showing people, hey, look, you have this right. It's okay. It's not scary. We're regular people who are just rallying, holding guns, men, women, people of all colors, and you don't have to be afraid. I know it does freak some people out, but a gun is just a tool like anything else. A weapon is a tool. I could beat you over the head with a glass bottle and kill you if I wanted to. I could do anything I wanted to. So can you. We can't buy into this idea of fear and allow this nanny state, this need for mommy and daddy to come to protect us, to strip away our rights. So I think there's a respectful way for us to support gun rights. And honestly, if there are people around me who are armed, whether they're open carrying or concealed carrying, if somebody is robbing me or coming into a grocery store I'm in and tries to rob, I would feel much safer that there are people with guns around me that are probably going to kill that person for trying to violate their rights and their freedoms. Now, I know the police are against this. This past week, the Houston police chief told a room full of journalists, and I think this is a huge conflict of interest, told the journalists, whatever you can do, we got to stop this stupidity, to call your senators and email them and tell them not to stand and support this idiocy. And now I'm wondering, so are those journalists then going to go to write in all these Houston papers and maybe frame their stories related to open carry in a negative light, since the police chief recommended that? I don't know. It makes me wonder. But what are your thoughts on open carry, campus carry? Do you support gun rights, the Second Amendment? And if you do you think open carry is helping? Do you think that more states should pass open carry? And what are your thoughts on constitutional carry? I really want you guys to, let's make this more of an interactive podcast. Leave your comments below. Send me some messages. Send me some emails. I'm always available. I think this is going to be a long fight, and I really hope that it does pass in Texas. And, to be honest, part of me wants it to pass just so I can watch people freak out, people who are just so scared of everything. I don't know, it just drives me crazy to watch my brothers and sisters in fear all the time. But let's hope that we can come to a place of reasoned conversation and find some common ground. The last two stories I have for you today have to do with one of my favorite topics, meditation. If you follow my work and if you follow the conscious resistance, if you follow anything I say, then you understand what I believe in. I believe in the idea that becoming empowered and aware of yourself and healing your internal issues is the greatest step we can take towards becoming more free in our hearts and our minds, and then in the physical world. This is what the whole book, The Conscious Resistance, Reflections on Anarchy and Spirituality, is touching on. Part of that is meditation, at least for me. I will recommend any form that you can take of some type of mindfulness and learning within your own heart and mind, because by meditating, even 5 minutes a day, spending 5 minutes a day with your own mind, sitting down, staring at a wall in lotus position, or just sitting down in your favorite comfy chair, closing your eyes, reflecting on your day, thinking of all the things you went through, and seeing what comes to the surface. By doing that, the more you do it, it becomes a regular practice. It becomes your habits. And the more you're able to do that, I promise you, not only will it help you with stress, with anger, and all these other things, but it's going to help you become more in tune with yourself. And meditation on a regular basis is extremely important. But what you'll find is the more regular it becomes a part of your day, it's like you're in a constant state of meditation. When somebody cuts you off on the street or does something that pisses you off, instead of jumping straight to that emotional state of mind, you are able to process it and to think through and not react immediately. And I know that's helped me immensely with my anger issues and tons of other things. And this is an ongoing thing. You're never going to reach this place of enlightenment or heaven where things are just perfect. Life will be stressful. Life will be difficult. But you will find a better way to manage those things. So I have two new studies that have come out this past week. The first one says mindfulness meditation may help treat troubled sleep. A new study published in the Journal of American Medical Association Internal Medicine suggests that mindfulness meditation practice may help older people who have trouble sleeping. Researchers at the University of Southern California in LA examined 49 people who were at least 55 years old and suffered from moderately disturbed sleep. They split the participants into two groups. One underwent 6 weekly 2-hour sessions of a course in mindfulness awareness practices for daily living, and the other attended 6 weeks of a sleep hygiene and education course. The group that learned mindfulness meditation practices improved at a higher rate than the sleep hygiene group. David Black, the study's lead author, stated that the individuals are more likely to benefit from a meditation course with an experienced teacher. And mindfulness meditation is a very specific type of meditation that is just, about being mindful, being in the present moment. I'm going to be doing a couple of videos this week. I'm finally going to do a video on how to meditate and just explain my experience in meditation and what my thoughts on different types of meditation. Because to be clear, there are various specific paths of meditation. There are different types. But as I've said before, meditation can be almost any practice that brings you closer to your highest good, to your inner self, and to connecting to that clear state of mind. That can be riding a bike, writing, having a good conversation, walking meditation, sitting meditation, actually thinking through things, clearing your mind. It's a number of different practices, and we're going to get more into that this week, so stay tuned to the Conscious Resistance Network for that. This second study that I found deals with the decrease in brain loss for older people once again. A new study appears to show that long-term meditation can lead to a smaller amount of age-related decreases in brain volume. Typically, a brain's gray matter decreases as a person ages. However, the study published in Frontiers in Psychology found that those who reported meditating for an average of 20 years had higher brain mass than the average person. Lead researcher Dr. Florian Kurth said his team cannot say for certain meditation directly caused patients to lose less brain volume. Still, those involved in the study who were long-term meditators seem to have better preserved brains than the average people of the same age. So, start meditating now. It doesn't matter how old you are. You might have 20 years left in your life. Unless you're listening to this at age 80, you got a good 20 years left in your life. You can still start meditating now. Find a practice that works for you. You will not only find that you have better sleep, you will have a decrease in and loss of brain matter, and which that means that you might have less chance of getting Alzheimer's and other things. Also, you'll have a less stressful life. Also, this can help you deal with PTSD. Also, this will just make you a happier person. Look at that. You have tons of reasons to start meditating. Why aren't you meditating now? Maybe because you're scared. Maybe because you don't know what meditation is. Most of the people I talk to are intimidated. They feel like, oh, but my brain won't shut up. I don't know how to stop thinking. And that's why I'll be putting out a video explaining more about what exactly meditation is, how you can get into that, how you can incorporate that into your life and what that means for freedom in the physical sense, and also show you that it's more than just some hippy dippy mumbo jumbo. It's something that the rational mind can enjoy and employ and should. That is what I have for you this week, guys. Thank you for listening. As always, I really appreciate it. Please subscribe to the SoundCloud, subscribe to the YouTube, follow us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter. Get in touch with me, get in touch with yourself. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, the rest of your week. I hope that if you're still buried in snow from the storms going around the country, that you're finding something useful to do with your time. I will be back next week covering the top news. Please stay tuned to theconsciousresistance.com to see what all of our team is putting out this week. And if you want to become a Patreon supporter and hear exclusive content from the book before it's released, sign up at patreon.com/DerekBros. Patreon, patreon.com/DerekBros, and you can hear so far the first 3 chapters, and today I'll be releasing the 4th chapter of the book. If you'd like to do